Bedhead dudes, got this locked and loaded, and this is the nuance to the mindset video that I made. And you know, we all have our strengths and our gifts, and this is an area where this aspect of the mindset that I'm going to speak about, I put myself at champion status. I just say that I could back this up with some street cred. At Epic, they used to call me into customer meetings that were high tension. I was a navigator. I'm gonna talk about the mind layer because that's what we're talking about, but like I'm also gonna talk about energy because that's really what's happening. Like it matters if your heart's open, and like it matters how you're feeling into the room, and the somatics that we're gonna do later matter because your own ability to feel the others is based on how you can feel yourself, and I'll back that up with some proof. So why are we listening to this? Because I honestly think if we spend a minute listening to this, we'll be able to better train in how we hold our energy with others in the moment. You know what I mean? Which at the end of the day, that's our divine personality, or that's walking our walk, and that's also being a service. That's also helping clean up the garbage. Before I get into it, last point, what I mean by the garbage is spiritually, the situation here, there's a lot of baggage. You know what I mean? And so to clean that up is a working alchemy, and you can do that in the moment. You can be one of those little beings of whom this shit just runs off, you know? Alright, so without further ado, the really first basic, and I know a lot of you guys know this, but the very first basic is to be able to see the extra in a situation as pain or suffering. This sounds simple, but like whenever someone's coming at you with extra shade, right? I mean, like there's an appropriate natural emotion. Like if you're about to step on someone's toe, they might be like, but then there's extra. And a ton of people have bottled up extra. Most people have bottled up extra. And so the thing is, the extra may attack you. If I got into the spiritual side of it, at times you are actually under attack or undergoing a test. And even if their ego isn't aware of it, their subconscious, the side of them that is extra, it's going to actually get at your buttons, like precisely at your buttons, in the most extreme cases. So you're being met with extra, you may be triggered, etc. But the key is to just understand what's actually happening. Like, oh, one of those energies, traumas, upstairs, you can think of it almost as a demon that feeds on the like oogity boogity boogity boo, is at play here. And so what do you want? You want a situation where that doesn't exist. And this sounds kind of simple, but like you just go into monk mode. You know, here is the suffering. A good bodhisattva views it as the suffering, because a bodhisattva, and you want to be a bodhisattva, someone who like is helping the whole planet, right? A bodhisattva is here to make sure they all get enlightened, right? And at the end of the day, that's God's work. At the end of the day, some of you guys are that. Either way, it's good training. So you view it as the suffering, because if we're all one and someone has suffering, it's the suffering. Okay? Later we'll nuance this, but the point is you are here to help with the suffering. If there's garbage on the street, pick it up. So, I mean, the main thing is once you understand it as that, you're not going to add fuel to the fire. You're not going to get your own barbs out there. You know what I mean? It'd start a horrendous little thing. So what I have learned in those situations is stay pleasant, you know, give a gentle teaching point if necessary, remind them, speak from the frequency of like, don't come at them with your barbs out, speak from above that, speak from out of the water, and you know, it'll roll off. You just, I mean, don't fold, but you can afford to turn the other cheek a little bit. You got to kind of work on that. That's kind of your own, like, you have to get some reps to refine how you respond in those moments. But the key is just not to engage. And most of you guys don't have that problem, you know what I mean? But once you engage with your own pain body, you could call it, then it's, I mean, you're just going to create a mess for later. Even if you win the battle, you will have lost the war. Meaning, like, it'll haunt you for a few days, it'll cost you energetically, you'll ruminate on it. So, I mean, that's how you deal with, like, you know, weird situations. What I tried to make the point in the first video is if you are setting your intention and holding your inner flame of like your own inner altar and seeing the inner altar in others, you're going to get less of that shade, okay? So that's offense. But once it's present, so your offense is your intention. Once it's present, is then you're kind of like monk mode. But I mean, to balance that, you're allowed to be a shaman. You're allowed to just say something. You're allowed. Sometimes it takes something. Some of the really like almost like homeless people. Sometimes they need something stronger. You know what I mean? So you have to play with it. It's not always super soft. It's not always turn the cheek, but it's never like engage at their level. Like you want to just be calm. It's good to know martial arts so you're not worried at all if it gets to like one of those situations. Okay. Nuances. Brad brought up that you need to meet people where they're at. I used to write a lot on this topic because it was so curious to me. And what I came up with is meet them halfway. Meaning like keep 1 foot in the high ground or the oxygen and 1 foot where they are. So if someone's telling you their horrible story, a lot of people are really low vibe. Even just when they speak, you feel your frequency drop. And so it's honestly, it's getting better. 5 years ago, the people are raising. The content on the TV is getting better. Everyone's getting examples from each other. It's really upping consistently. But sometimes people are real boo-boo woo-boo. Again, before I get into it, with the straddling, your offense matters. If you are propagating expectations of being met with heaven now, okay. But let's say it's not that, they come. Yeah, I already talked about don't engage with the boo-boo, but to meet them halfway. So it's true. You want to hold. What I found to work is you want to hold the perfect sight, see the unblemished version of them with part of your being. You're like an onion, or you have layers. So part of you is in like perfect peace, seeing the unblemished side, and part of you is a little bit listening, a little bit resonating. Although frankly, I don't listen too much when people get real boo-boo unless it's really my job. I've learned, because I used to really listen. I really used to spend a lot of time empathizing. What my spirits trained me on is build a house and have them meet you halfway. Meaning wait for people to want to be helped. So don't spend a lot of time. I mean, if you're a physician and you need to speak with these people, if it's family. So there's times where it's worth your energy to empathize. Then a lot of times it's not. I know that goes against the bodhisattva thing, where it's like it's our suffering, but that's also called skillful means. So skillful means is to have people meet you halfway. Eventually you want to build your own service if you're service oriented and have people meet you halfway. These are nuances, these are balances. I spend some time just helping out the riffraff. You know what I mean? It's, you know, you got plenty of energy to give. I'm just saying those are balances, because if you get too empathetic, if you really meet people where they are, you spend all day listening to people's boo-boo, and at the end you feel wrung out. There's funny cartoons of like energy transfer, like they feel you gave them something, but what did they give you? You know what I mean? And you can't do that all day because you run out of your own juju mojo, okay? So summarizing that, like, play offense, expect the best. When it comes, don't get triggered. Hold that offense. Can we be in heaven? Can we be in heaven? And then up to you. Is it worth your empathizing? Be generous, but don't be too generous with that. Honestly, there's people who feed on you. People's demons feed on negative stories. Now, in the more NAR version, for those interested, I had a phase where I trained on subtle energy, and it's now become unconscious. And I got way more subtle with it as I went. Robbie Harlow may remember the early days right when I got off the boat from Africa, and I was like, I do little things with my hands, and I blow wind. But there is a way to work it at the subtle energy layer. Even sometimes people, okay, so we're transitioning a bit. That was mindset, a little bit subtle energy. Okay, you can learn your own way to do this. I would say this probably hits you when it hits you. Once you start to feel energy, then you'll probably be provoked by your subconscious to start dealing with that. You know what I mean? And it's really no big deal. For me, it's casual. I do it like throughout the day, and it just makes like the oxygen around me better. It's become a non-issue for me. But little things, like I do this with my fingers, kind of like cutting when something bad's walking toward me. I'm just like, I'm even more gentle than that. Really, these days, I'm really low-key about it. But I do little things with my hands to like push it, move it, create a space for me. Sometimes I'm even trying to help them with that. I'm like, help them with that. If they want help with that, release that. And I do little things. You'll find, though, with these perspectives, your heart's open more. You know what I mean? So you're basically training to keep your heart open. When we get way in our head, it gets weird. You want to have, later we'll do our somatics. Our somatics help us be in our body. Being in your body is huge. And the somatics will help you feel the subtle energy too. At least for me, that's when that heated up, is when I found somatics and meditation, and like, then I was like, things started being really a lot more useful. The last thing I wanted to say, because it came up yesterday in conversation, is these psychic skill sets that aren't like requisite in this program, like, you know, it takes a while to get these, but some of you are pretty close, or some of you even already are having these kinds of experiences. It's extremely useful. But that comes, and I guess this is in a bit, Freddie kind of brought this up. This is a bit like, as you work on your spiritual development, which is how you hold your energy in the moment, which is how you architect your life, which is like the name of the game, your spirits are watching you, and as your spiritual intent grows, as your they check in on your energy. They don't have to babysit you all day, but your subconscious is babysitting you all day, and your subconscious works with your spirits. So your subconscious will tee you up with information, with experiences, with encounters. Sometimes your spirits are on you like rice when it's an important moment, but they will give you more clear pipelines to guidance from them, and their guidance is immaculate because they can see beyond time space. So they can see things you can't see. They know, they remember a lot more about your core themes. They know you better than you know yourself. You know what I mean? Your own because there's garbage here, your own psyche is a little bit muddy. It gets clearer and clearer and clearer, and then your pipeline gets better and better and better. And at some point your pipeline is like visions, a voice in your head, like thumps in your body, and that stuff is crystal clear and super useful. These are all the themes I basically thought were useful for right now. Trying to make the stuff crisp and short, but give you guys, like, these are complex topics, so the nuance could go on for eons. So I tried to hit the nail on the head with that, summarizing mindset stuff really fast, just like, you know, we're playing offense, expecting heaven, we're not getting triggered, we're bodhisattva monks. When there is garbage, we see it as the garbage, even if that garbage is coming at us and hitting our buttons. Good training. You know, every once in a while, it's not so nice, but often it is turn the cheek. You know, you have to kind of play with that. Let it run off, hold peace. But if you feel stronger saying something crisp, just do it gently, do it pleasantly, say something crisp. Kid sat down at our table yesterday, like, smoking cigarettes, trying to drink our beer, like, and I looked him straight in the eyes. He was like, "I'm cool," and I was like, "You were a lot cooler before you did that." Like, and he, you know, he like laughed. I was like, well, he tried to. It's just, you have to play with it. There's a certain amount of strength, tough love. So sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's tough. Fearlessness is useful. Perfect peace is useful. I have that Far Out story where someone tried to pull a gun on me. And I'm not trying to scare you guys with how, like, this is the most extreme story I have on this. But I was there, and I had read something about perfect peace that very morning. And it was actually Law of One I was reading. And and I have a witness, and I've told this story before, but kid went to pull a gun. I could have, like, jacked him, I could have ran, but I just knew. I just went into it like church, and I felt it exude from me. Like, I just rested in heaven, and it was like, whoa. And he literally looked above me as if talking to an angel and said, he stopped his movement and was like, "Fine, you may be protected right now, but you won't always be." I was like, "Bro, I'm always gonna be protected." We became friends again. This kid was like bad shit. But yeah, you are protected, you are at peace, and don't worry about people's boo-boo. Do empathize, but you don't have to empathize with everyone's stuff. Sometimes it's better just to get going, you know, be courteous, but get going. Those people almost need to learn to feed in a new way, the people with a lot of boo-boo energy. So it's not necessarily your job. When they are family and stuff, it's more useful to actually listen, learn, help them understand, transmute, alchemize. The more clear you can get on your own roots of your own psyche, the more clear you can help people navigate theirs. Later we'll do our somatics, which will help us feel the subtle energy layer. And then in real time, you can do little things with subtle energy, no doubt, 100. And yeah, and then I do stuff for my city, Cleveland. I've talked with a few guys about that, but you can try and set energy for your neighborhoods and your places, and help your environments and at least your neighborhood or your city or your yard, you know. then I occasionally try to do things for all of Gaia, you know? So those are some thoughts related to mindset. You know, anytime we try to make a topic, it'll spill over to the other topics. So that's what I got. And yeah, we're trying to keep our heart open. We're trying to be in our body, and we're trying to use perspectives in our mind to facilitate that. Being thinking creatures, our mind is extremely powerful. You know, it's funny because this program's mostly going to be body stuff because it's so helpful. But in my opinion, if you're talking chicken and the egg, it's the egg. Like it's the mind. The mind is before the physical. So you got power there. But all of it at once, of course. Creation, mind, body, mind, body. Oh, okay. Bonus lesson since.